So I attended TJ Pappas, I think it was 92, 93. Honestly, they were a huge blessing in my life.
How so?
My family, I was the oldest of four, or I am the oldest of four. My dad was not in the picture, and so we ended up at the UMOM shelter. I believe it's still there, located on Van Buren.
Yes.
And at that time, the TJ Pappas School was the feed school. So my brothers were very tiny, so they weren't of age to go to school. But me and my sister went to Thomas J Pappas. Previous to going to TJ Pappas, I kind of have blips of memory back then, but I had already quit going. My mom didn't enforce anything, and so I kind of just got to do whatever I wanted. It was hard because the living environment was not supportive of going to bed and waking up and having a routine. We were on the go quite a bit. Before the school and the shelter, we were living in abandoned houses, whichever was available. My mom would just drive at night until she found something. All four of us would sleep in her, run-down car. And so we really didn't have a set home or neighborhood to really go to school. So I want to say all of that. I mean, it's been my whole life, but it got really bad as far as no electricity and no set home. Probably my 5th grade. And so I kind of survived throughout the rest of 5th grade and part of 6th grade. And I had actually not really attended much of 6th and 7th grade until I had gone to Pappas. You didn't have a choice. They picked you up and they took you every day. Some of the things that really stood out to me was first day there, going into this room and being able to pick out clothes. Huge. Can't tell you I've ever had a memory prior to that being able to do that, so that was really exciting, and there was a ton to choose from, and I felt like I got to pick something within my style. Shoes was also down there I got to pick, and backpack and school supplies and just all the things that people just assume you have, but we never had, so that was really neat. It was smaller classes, and I remember the teachers being very hands-on, very much helping with your needs no matter what it was. Food was another big thing. So we didn't get a lot of food, or we didn't necessarily like the food that was offered at the shelter. And so with TJ Pappas in the morning for breakfast, you eat, and if you want to get seconds, you eat, and if you want thirds, you get to eat, and you want fourths, you get to eat. And so I remember that was just so huge, because in my household, you didn't get seconds. There was no such thing, and so we very much took advantage of that. The bus driver was probably my best memory. I wish I could remember that man's name because he was awesome. We did eventually leave the shelter, and this bus driver would just drive. I mean, it would be evening time, just driving all of us kids around to our homes. And one particular time was that my mom had either moved, I don't know, over the weekend or maybe that morning of, or something of that nature, and did not relay our new address to the school. And so my sister, I think, was like 5th grade, and I was 7th grade. And so we didn't think about it, being children. And when we get on the bus to go home, he drives to our old address, and we're like, we don't live here anymore. And he's like, well, where do you live? And we're looking at each other like, I have no idea how to tell you. So we tried to give him, landmarks. It's by this Fry's, or it's by this and that. And back then, cell phones, weren't there. And matter of fact, we didn't even have a home phone. And so this man drove around until probably 9:30 at night with me and my sister on his bus until he got us home. And there was staff at TJ Pappas that just continuously tried getting a hold of my mom, and eventually they did. And my mom relayed the address, and we made it home. But he stuck with us until 9:30 at night. And, you just don't get that anywhere else. After Pappas, so I would have been in 8th grade, and at that time, the school that I believe I should have went to was Royal Palm Middle School. And, my mom was still struggling at that time. So although we weren't living in a shelter, we were living in an apartment with no electricity, no hot water, barely any food. We kind of lived out of a little ice chest. And then we had this little electric skillet so that we were able to cook if we needed to or whatnot. And so we didn't have much of anything. And so I did go to school for a very short time in 8th grade, but I quit going because I got made fun of. I didn't have shoes that fit. I didn't have a backpack. The folder that maybe I had was, from the year previous, which you get made fun of by other children. And I felt like I needed to be home taking care of my brothers. They were little. My brothers at that time were 2 and 4. And so I dropped out of school in 8th grade, and I stayed home and took care of my brothers. And it was the summer that I should have gone into my freshman year of high school, and my mom left, actually. So I woke up to a letter, just her telling us she couldn't take care of us, and she left our birth certificates, social security cards, and food stamps attached to the letter, and just instructed me to call the police to come get us. So being that was all, my whole life, I kind of knew already that if I called the police, I would get separated from my siblings. And I knew I didn't want that. So I decided I was going to live there, and I was going to take care of them, and I was going to call anybody, and that lasted about 3 hours. And then I realized, I don't think I could do this. So what I did was I made a collect phone call to my grandpa, and I told him what was going on, and he came and within an hour and picked us up, and to make a really long story short, my grandpa raised me from that point on. He had got guardianship of me and my siblings. He fought with the school board at my high school. I tested into 9th grade, so I got to skip 8th grade, and I graduated, and here I am. So I can honestly tell you so many things that school did that I would have never had the opportunity to do had I not gone there. But I think I realized going to that school at that time that I was more than my environment, that I was capable of much more than I thought I was. And they really fed your ego. My best piece of advice would be to listen to your teachers, don't give up, and try hard. It's worth it. The little bit of effort you can put in will make a huge difference later in your life.